I came to law school after teaching English as a second language, so I had a master's in linguistics and was teaching overseas and decided to go to law schools. And so I really knew nothing of what I was getting into. So I struggled during law school with the rigidity of the program and, adjusting to the first year. And so when I started teaching, I was aware that it can be an intense program. And some students don't ever seem to really recover. They feel like they've been hazed or something. So that's been a concern for many years. And I was fortunate to be introduced to Omid, who's working on these issues of belonging. And that allowed me to think about the problem in a different way, in a different space.
There's a sort of an old joke in psychology that we as psychologists don't do research, we do me-search. And that was certainly true for me. I started off being a first-gen immigrant family. We came into a new country where people like us did not do well. I didn't have the resources, either financial or human capital, to help me understand how to navigate these new systems. So I went through high school, through college, and even some early graduate experiences, having this weight where I felt like there's constantly this invisible spectator trying to wait for me to make a mistake and out me as being an imposter. So what happens when you put someone in a new context of ambiguity, of uncertainty, of high performance demands and expectations, and they don't always understand what the cues or the signals in that environment mean? The reaction is to withdraw. If you don't feel completely certain about whether the learning is something that you're doing adequately, whether you're socially connecting properly, if you feel like that is a unique experience onto you and nobody else, then the natural conclusion is that I should probably just drop out.
I think the one thing about graduate students and professional students that is important to know is that I think there's a misconception that they don't need support. They've been in school for so long, it's going to be easy for them. But really they have the same issues around transitioning to these competitive programs as undergraduate students do. So the need is there for these interventions. I was terrified at first to ask my students what it was like to be a Pitt Law student or how they felt and open up that box. But I thought that they wouldn't talk to me, but they just want to talk. That's the thing that I was probably most surprised about in that first year is how much they were willing to say, and sometimes how much they were willing to be vulnerable with each other when given the right space and structure. I was excited to see that it was the year of emotional well-being when we applied for these momentum funds because I think our project squarely fits within the theme of well-being. We're looking to make the transition smoother for our law students. And it's not that it's meant to make it easy. Law school will still be rigorous, but we want to humanize the process and allow space for students to have emotions and have a space to express what they're feeling and going through and be healthy human beings. Our hope is that will carry on through upper level years of law school and then into practice, that they learn how to be resilient. When we really started this project, it was just as the pandemic hit. And so much of our work was online at that point, on Zoom. And students expressed so much isolation. And one particular student, I didn't realize, but she had a scholarship that wouldn't allow her to get a computer. And she was isolated. And through the process of talking about what was a transition, what was holding her back, she talked about moving to Pittsburgh, not having the same equipment, and we were able to reach out to IT and get her a computer and change her world. And I put her in touch with another very open, friendly student who they made plans to meet once a week, and then they formed a study group. And that study group continues 3 years later. I see myself as a facilitator, bringing key players together. For example, getting Dr. Fatui involved from LRDC as a motivational psychologist, introducing him to our students, sort of collecting the expertise of our students with the expertise of our researchers at Pitt.
As a researcher, I can spend all of my time just doing primary lab research. And the incentive structures in our institutions are designed to help me do that. But that's not how research can have an impact. The only way that research can actually have a meaningful impact is through collaboration. Where that shows itself is through the efforts of Dr. Sinsheimer as being an incredible and critical champion of trying to understand and recognizing that there is this research that lives in the research world. How do we then apply that and create a cultural and contextual change where the research can set its roots and change the environment and the culture in that new place? Working in a collaborative way with other institutions and other programs is critical to being able to take research and apply it in context that matters.